great information there. So Shelly, you're up next. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I think I need a secret word in my about section.
Yeah, right. And I bet like people are going on John's profile right now, like, what's a secret word? It's a
Yeah, never thought about that before, but I'll have to include that.
Yeah. And how are you? Now you're joining us from Toronto, am I remembering correctly?
Toronto,
Right.
Canada.
Yeah. How's the weather there today?
The weather is beautiful today. It's been beautiful for the last week, 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I will be going for a walk after this presentation for sure.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I am delighted that you've made the time. I know it's on Saturday, and I'm like, part of the reason I planned this event on a Saturday is I'm steering this event towards people who are using LinkedIn for job search, and specifically today is for people who are working but looking. And a lot of times they're not able to come on to webinars during the work week, and they're missing out on a lot of these sessions. And I'm like, well, Saturday morning, while they're, we're now into the early afternoon here in the US and in Toronto, but yeah, maybe they could kind of watch it. But even if they're not watching it live, there'll be an opportunity to get access to the playback later. But I want to jump into your talk in just a moment here. We're going to be talking about crafting a standout LinkedIn about story. Before we do that, Shelly, I know you from the LinkedIn Rockstar list, and I kind of feel like Jeff Young nominated you, but maybe I stumbled upon you. I don't remember. I associate you and Jeff because I see you guys interacting a lot on the platform. But for those people who don't know who you are, Shelly, could you take a minute or two and tell us a little bit about who you are and what's your business all about?
So I'm the president of LinkedIn Express. I do a lot of like speaking engagements and a lot of it tends to be more group training with LinkedIn in terms of like helping teams, special groups, women's groups, and helping them to, navigate LinkedIn and also enjoy the process and build community. So I like to do like group sessions. So I do a lot of group coaching, and I'm also the LinkedIn, I guess the resident LinkedIn trainer at University of Toronto, and I'm also a trusted speaker for LinkedIn Canada. So I tend to like to speak a lot on LinkedIn and the art of social reciprocity.
That's awesome. And I'm going to go grab my bracelet. I'm going to pull it out in a second. We'll tell you about that too. But I pulled up your LinkedIn profile up on screen for those folks that are watching. Is it the follow as the default, or do you have the connect as your default button right now?
I have the follow.
Okay. So tell people, they may be joining us late and they may have missed John's talk on what does it mean to follow versus connect?
So sometimes, you want to get to know the person, and I think following them for a while gives you some leverage to connect with them if they don't know you or you don't have a lot of people in common. Like that's normally what I do a lot of the times when I'm wanting to connect with somebody, but I don't know them really well. But I always want to tell them my why for reaching out. So I tend to follow them for a while, get kind of a grasp for their content, what their offerings are, what their specialties are, what makes them stand out. And then I use that as a way to reach out, because I normally want to reach out with people that like inspire me, and because hopefully I'm doing the same. So so if you just hit follow, it's just a way for you to kind of get to know that person. You'll get that person's content in your feed. You can go and search that person if you want to know more about what they've done in the past, and then hopefully that's going to lead to possibly connecting with that person. And then there are a lot of people out there on LinkedIn that are not accepting more connections. Maybe they just want to build a following list, and it's nothing personal. It's just how they've decided to use LinkedIn.
That's true. It's and to each his own, right, Shelly? And it really depends on where you are in your business and your career and how you're using the platform. So we're going to talk about creating a standout about story on your LinkedIn profile. And I'm going to, are you doing, I can't remember, are we doing slides today or are you just talking? I can't remember.
Oh, well, I can talk and I can use my own profile a little bit. Okay. And then if we want to show a couple of examples, otherwise I have a couple of examples I want to showcase, but I can even read them.
Awesome. And I'm very much I pull back the curtain as I'm doing things here too, Shelly. Do you use StreamYard too when you're doing your live streams, or do you use a different platform?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. So you're familiar with it. So if you wanted to share your screen, just click on share the screen below, and then I have to enable it to give kind of permission for that. And as you're doing that, pulling it in larger screen, I might pull myself out of the video just for a moment, but I'll be in the room with you the whole time. And then we'll move into Q&A in about the last 10 minutes. So let's get started here. So people are watching, Shelly, and they're like, okay, I need a new job. I don't want my employer to know. And I've heard this about statement, and I'm you know, I'm just going to drop from my resume what I have in there, right? Is that what I should do, or no?
Definitely not. It is not your online resume. If you want to pull up the LinkedIn, Brenda, we can go with from there too.
You want me to pull up your LinkedIn?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll
take
do that.
a look at
Link that up there.
my LinkedIn story. So the about section is really, really, really important. Not only is it the biggest area that connects with the LinkedIn search algorithm, so in other words, helps you to be found, it's really where you have, you know, in some cases, 2,600 characters to really tell who you're about. So I checked mine today, and I have 2,572 characters. And so in this case, more is more, because when people see your about section, they actually only get to read a couple of lines. And the whole purpose behind that is because you want those first couple of lines, like it's your story starter. So you want that story starter to kind of draw people in and be compelling, so that they expect they don't expect the unexpected, they expect the expected, which is your resume. You don't want your resume has your own job, so you want your LinkedIn profile to really talk about who you are behind all of those titles. At the end of the day, on LinkedIn, titles really don't matter. So your about section is really, really going to be about impacting people with what you have, what you offer, what you can showcase, and what you've done in the past along your career journey, that's going to show people the kind of person you've become as a result. So I have this kind of this quote that I think is perfect for just bringing it into perspective. If you want to leverage the about section, think about it as essentially what you bring that is valuable to someone else, plus your ability to help them see that value. So, you know, not only talking about it, but creating it and writing it in a way that will have that emotional connection with other people. So, like John said previously, he talked a lot about giving on LinkedIn and about, you know, building that trust. And in this about section, you know, you have 2,600 characters to build trust. So think about it, you know, if you were given that kind of stage or that opportunity or even a coffee, and you had that space to just kind of talk to people about you, and you would want to include all of those things that really holistically make you up. So if we go to I'm just going to use mine for a little of example, but you really want to start off with a story starter. So I start with, you know, running off the stage and losing a shoe when I was young. It didn't boost my confidence. So this is a story that I use because it actually draws into the way that I feel people actually get success. So building relationships and building community on LinkedIn is my number one. Yes, of course, you have to build a really great profile, including an about section. It's so, so important. But the reason you're building it is because it's going to help you to establish trust with other people. So when they come to your about section, you want them to hit that more button. Every time somebody hits more after those first couple of lines, it helps you. It helps not only for your profile to be elevated, but the algorithm kicks in that people want to read your story. So you want to be really, really focusing on creating something that is compelling, impactful, and really, really showcases you. So after I do my little story starter, Brenda, you want to go down a little bit? I really just get into talking about what my why is. So if you think about Simon Sinek, he always says about understanding your why. And, you know, 10 years ago, I had something happen to me where I paid a coffee forward to somebody from LinkedIn, and that changed my life. That person became my mentor. But it was a very, very critical point in my life, because that person became my mentor, introduced me to the right people. And from there, I realized the kind of LinkedIn trainer I wanted to be and what I was going to use to formulate my niche. So that's why I give a little bit of introduction about the importance of social reciprocity, the fact that I paid a LinkedIn latte forward. Then I go down to talk a little bit about the things that support that. I get in, I talk about, the fact that I combine that with all of my career background. I've been a career development specialist for well over 15 years. One of my missions and goals is to help job seekers to realize that it's confidence at the end of the day and showcasing what you have and not backing down from showing those accomplishments. So I give kind of like a background into my why, what is important to me, what drives me, and what do I advocate for, to tell people a little bit about my personality, because then they're going to figure out why kindness and why giving and why social reciprocity really is my foundation to how this tool, how LinkedIn works for me and how I become successful on LinkedIn. And that's because I really, really use that. I really try to give to people, even through my story, because when I'm talking about me and I'm trying to tell them, the people on the other side can see what I have and they can see the confidence. So if you're a job seeker, or even if you have a company where you want to be hired, so maybe you have a company and you're going out into that entrepreneurial type challenge and you want people to recognize it's not about the title, it's not about even the company, but it's about where that company came from as a result of you and the personality that you have, because you are trying to convince people that you're the person that they should be looking at. So, having unemployed and looking for a job kind of just takes things from having that growth mindset to having that doubt. And nobody really wants to hire somebody that has doubt. They want to hire somebody who has confidence. Especially through this last year, we've gone through a lot. Many people have lost their jobs. Many people are feeling that frustration and anxiety. So one good thing that I, tend to do, and I tend to tell other people to do, is when you're writing your story, take a look at the accomplishments along the way. It's also a really feel-good thing to do, and it'll make you kind of like switch from that doubt you may be experiencing to that growth mindset that you really need in order to be seen on LinkedIn. And in order to be listened to on LinkedIn, and in order for other people to want to connect with you and find out who you're about. This about section, as well as all of the other areas, come together to create a story. If I'm going to be the one that's going to introduce you to somebody who may have an opportunity available, or I may be introducing you because I think that you and this other professional that I know would take off, that you would get to know each other, and that you would be great in terms of just corresponding and maybe just learning about each other's niches. I have to know and feel really confident about your about section, because if I'm going to introduce you, I have to feel that level of trust, because that's my credibility that I'm throwing it out there. I'm taking a risk, but I don't take a risk when I know somebody's story and I feel that they feel really good about their story. So that's really what this about section is. Who are you? What are your goals? What background do you have to support those, to support you in telling your story, to support you in creating that journey that's going to show people what you've done along the way, to create impact and in your industry, or if you're starting a new industry, what have you done and what will you do if you're working with somebody, and how will you be behind the title? And then finally, at the end, I always throw in a few things for people to get to know me, the kind of like things you wouldn't know about me. I think it's important because I do want people to know me from another level. And then I usually put in a call to action, and that's what a lot of people do at the end. You know, if you have something, if you have a portfolio that people can go to, if you have a website, if you have, you know, there's so many things that you can add, or tell people what to do next, or encourage them. Maybe you're, you know, a coffee aficionado, and you know, would be happy to connect with people just to explore each other's niches and industries and get to know people. So what is your call to action? A strong call to action will let people know what they can do next to meet you, what they can do next to further the conversation. So I just wanted to give you there are a few things that you have to remember, and I wanted to talk about this in terms of the about section and some of the key points that you should take into consideration when writing your about section. So follow a story structure instead of like your resume, because it isn't your resume. Start out with a strong story starter, like I did, and I'll give you a couple more. So this is an aspiring marketer, a digital marketer. My mentor, as well as my old supervisor, both referred to me as a versatile and agile content writer who is both a storyteller and strategic problem solver. I will also add in the word wordsmith, because that is my superpower. Another one, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. That is why it can effectively enable organizations and individuals to grow through major change and significant shift by harnessing the power of emotion. This person has a consulting firm, her own consulting firm called Change Enthusiasm. So throughout her profile, and especially at the beginning in her story starter, she brings that to life. So she's somebody who wants to get hired based on her new coaching firm that she has. After 17 years of working in corporate, she's now taking that knowledge and using it to develop her own firm. So she's putting in her why and differentiating herself because she's a coach and a consultant who focuses on emotion. And the other person introduced themselves as really coming out and knowing their why and why somebody should hire them. Because again, they even, that person even said, you know, my background is writing, and this is what I've done, and this is my superpower. So really coming off strong, and then the rest of the about section should come back to that very first couple of lines that you've introduced. It's strong. It's supposed to be strong. And it's supposed to make people want to read more because you're giving them something that's touching them. You want to touch them emotionally. The other things that you want to remember about building your about section, speak to your industry expertise. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. There is no one story that fits all. Create your own story. Think about your specialties and skills and sprinkle them throughout your about section. Because as I mentioned earlier, this is one of the key sections for the search algorithm. So you do want to make sure that you have some key skills and keywords that can be picked up. One good one thing that you can do to get some of these keywords, if you're not quite sure, is go to LinkedIn, the LinkedIn job area, take a look at some of the postings that are in line with the postings that, you know, maybe a job that you'd be interested in, and they will tell you right there the kind of words, that the keywords that they're using and that have been searched. And you can take them if they match your profile, and you can also put them in there. So provide data. Numbers are always good. Highlight professional interests. Always write in first person. This is your story, and own it. Show your personality. This is the place to do it. People connect with people because they like your personality. Align it with your brand statement. I call it the brand statement. I'm sure it was called tagline or headline before, but I like to call it branding statement because it sets me up for my about section. Break up the blocks of text. Nobody wants to read a big long like about section, especially now that we have about 2,600 characters to work with. More is more. I think I mentioned that before. So, I often get people ask me, should I just write one paragraph? No, I say use everything, every bit of space you have. And with a call to action so that you can further the conversation, that you have something to go on. And use the featured section. So there is a featured section. Brenda, could I ask you just to go to my featured section? And I love this featured section because it allows me to put anything that is happening right now that is like, top of mind. Like I'm going to put in the next thing around is what's happening today. I didn't have a chance to do it, but like I put in, there was an article I was featured in. I was featured in 31 women who are impacting and creating change. I was in charity not too long ago. So I'm always trying to keep it really, really robust. And this is a way for you to showcase anything that you may have done in the past and anything you may be doing now that will help people to learn more about you. Remember, you always have your ideal audience in mind and you always have your goals in mind. So you have all of those characters to use to create a really, really robust about section. And then you have a featured section that can help you bring that to life visually through featured articles, through videos, through pictures. And, you can just, this is one area that I'm continuously building on, just because I think as humans, we connect with visuals. And so this part is really important to have the visuals along with it. So just remember, who are you writing to? What are your offerings? What do you have that other people don't? What are all of those things you've accomplished along the way? And what is your why? All of those things can help make your about section really, really appealing, and more people will be hitting that more button.
I love it. I love the more button reminder too, because I like to tell people, Shelly, I'm going to refresh your page right now on LinkedIn. And I usually tell people when people land on your profile, and remember this, most people will not click on see more. So if you think about it that way, I love your intro statement that you have in there. Running off the stage and losing a heel, did not lose my confidence. I mean, it draws you in. I want to click on see more. So when you think about, most people will not click on see more, but the right people will if you've intrigued them, if you've captured their attention. I think that's such an important element. So thank you for sharing that.
And it takes a little while to get that right statement. Nothing about LinkedIn is like in my opinion, a quickie. You take the opportunity to find something. And like, if you notice, I have my other heel. That's the actual heel that was left that didn't get lost.
Yeah.
I use it to create my story. I use it to build trust, and I use it to make people feel comfortable, because we've all had one of those moments where we've lost our confidence. And what do we do to build it back? And I use LinkedIn to create confidence in people. So that was one of the why I wanted to connect my own story with my LinkedIn story, because I feel like that's one of the ways I can teach people to overcome imposter syndrome, or to showcase what they have. Because so many people think, how can I actually say my accomplishments or showcase my accomplishments without looking like I'm bragging? And I mean, showing your accomplishments just shows that you are confident about what you have to offer. So there's a fine line, but when it's not, when it's kind of being a little bit more pompous and maybe not being too pleasing. But if you're just simply telling and really creating a story around what you've accomplished, then that's something entirely different.
Yeah, I love that approach too. I think there's a genuineness and an authenticity to all the things that you do. And thank you for sharing your story with us. We're going to start to wind down in just a few minutes. But before we do so, I see Petra Fisher is in our backstage green room. I'm going to bring you up on stage, Petra, just so we can say hi real quick, toss the audio and video. Hey, Petra, how are you today?
Yay.
We cannot
Yeah,
hear you.
once I find the
There we go.
unmute.
There we go. Now we can hear you.
Fabulous. Good
Nice
to
to
see
see
you
you.
guys. And Shelly, finally meeting you
I
live.
know.
I was
And
going to
you,
say, do you
Brenda.
two
I
know
know.
each other, or have you not met yet in a
Um,
video room yet?
No. I mean, we know each other like we all know each other.
Online,
But
right.
yeah, no, cool.
We've been LinkedIn buddies for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Great
Awesome.
talk.
Well,
Love
Petra,
that.
hang out just for a few minutes. I'm going to put you back in the green room, and then we're going to wrap up with Shelly, and then I'll bring you back up on stage here, okay?
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Here we go. Good. And this is kind of like I'm doing, Shelly, I'm doing piloting, co-piloting, kind of being MC, hostess, trying to kind of go through things. And I always like to pull the curtain back to tell people why I'm doing and what I'm doing. And in this instance, I'm doing this LinkedIn Live-a-thon. It's going a live stream continuously for 4 hours. And part of I want to make sure people are ready to go. And if they're not ready to go, I mean, earlier we had someone didn't show up. So we just kind of went a little bit longer with the first session. It happens sometimes. But also when I bring people up, I don't want it to be like, we can't hear you, we can't see you. So it's a quick little checkup on that. So that worked out perfectly there. I went and got my bracelet too, Shelly. I'm going to just pull this up on screen.
Oh, great.
Kind. So I want, if you could you tell us about the movement that you've created, the bracelets? What does that all mean?
So it started last January, although the year before that, I was like a LinkedIn CSI for one whole year where I was trying to, a lot of people know that I do a Changemaker series. I mean, Brenda, you've been on it. John's been on it. I think Petra's been on it. And I noticed some people in that Changemaker series were no longer around. And that's how it all started. I wanted to know what was going on. So I did a little bit of investigation, got a hold of them and found out that they had been experiencing some bullying on the LinkedIn. And that really upset me. I have also had students from the university, complain about being harassed. And I don't want them to not feel that they have a space on LinkedIn, because with 95% of employers vetting candidates through LinkedIn, at least that's what they tell me, and LinkedIn tells me, I don't want them to ever fear. It's no longer an option, it's a must. Yeah. So I started this campaign, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to have my help of my community, and this is going to be something global that I can have impact in. And I think if we all band together and say we're not going to put up with bullying, we're going to decide to be kind, then that's where it all came. Like John said, when you asked him the question, he said, well, why wouldn't I share that? It's all about helping people out. And I totally agree. Every morning that I get on here with my coffee, it's all about who can I help? And then, and so much has come back at me just because of that. So the Decide to Be Kind campaign is really just to have all of our voices heard. Mm-hmm. Over 1,200 wristbands have traveled the world in just over a year. And I mean all over the world. And and you always get one free. So you get one, then you get one free to pay forward, so that we're sharing a message. How do you want to show up? Who do you want to hang around with? If people are spreading negativity and bad stuff on LinkedIn, do you really want to hang around with those kind of people? And, so how can we band together and spread the message that, you are representative of the 5 people you hang around with? The same thing happens on LinkedIn. So this was my opportunity, number one, to showcase that bullying does happen. It's something that doesn't get recognized so much on this site, but it happens, and it's caused people to leave. And so together, we just enforce kindness and social reciprocity and giving, because it's the right thing to do.
And we look out for each other, and that's
we look out for each other.
And even sometimes when we get trolls or negative comments, we had some, a little bit, some criticisms of the person ripping up the paper, and I'm like, the reason we're doing this is to help all of you. That's why. But even when those people that are negative comment on the post, sometimes I'll remind people, hey, thank you for your comment. Obviously, we don't share the same point of view, but by commenting, you're actually broadcasting this out to your network. So thank you for that. And that's it. Lisa had asked a question about the bracelet. Are these still available? Can someone else get a bracelet, Shelly?
Yes. So it's on my site, linkedexpress.ca. So linked, LINKED, express, all one word, EXPRESS.ca. And you order one and you get one for free. And then what we try to do is get people to take a photo once they get it and spread the word and follow the hashtags. We also have a group once you, and you can become a member of that group where, so on my website, you can go to shop and you can order there.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Shelly. And as we wrap up today, any final comments for folks that are watching? And we're doing a great job of sharing with them about building a powerful about statement. So any final comments, anything else you'd like to share before we wrap?
So just, keep in mind that your profile is who you are even if you were going to a live networking event. So just think about that about section as your opportunity to introduce yourself in a positive and appealing way. Take advantage of it because you want people to learn about you, and that is what's going to help you to get the opportunity that you're looking for, because LinkedIn works actively and passively. So as long as there's some really great content to go with, then you will be found as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Shelly. And for those that are watching, they want to connect with you. Are you open to accepting new connections? Are you followers only? What's your philosophy?
Yes, absolutely. But tell me your why. Okay. So I have the follow button, but for some of you who don't know, or maybe you missed the last session, you just go to the more and you can hit the connect is just hiding there. But absolutely, I love meeting new people and building my community.
Oh, thank you, Shelly. And I hope someday we'll have the chance to meet in person. We're not too far away, Toronto, Metro Detroit, but it was such a delight having the time with you here today. I just want to say thank you so much and really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. And I'll be heading down that way, actually, once COVID is all.
Oh, good.
So we will be doing this in person.
Awesome. Well, great to see.
Excited.
Thank you, Shelly. And if you're able to jump on the live stream on LinkedIn, there may be some additional comments and questions that are coming in that we couldn't get to. If not, have a lovely Saturday, and I'll be sure to share the links with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.